Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and this is a kind of unique build, or at least fun build, that I decided to try recently using Great Stars and Golden Land. Now, I wanted to do a Great Stars build for a while because I don't really cover a lot of Great Hammers on my channel, and awesome with this is the fact that the Great Hammer itself, the Great Stars, comes with 55 innate bleed. Now, we decided to pick an Ash of War for this one, and for this one, we ended up going with Golden Land. I'm going to explain why in a little bit, but it makes this really powerful, gives it a lot of damage, and believe it or not, there's actually a way to proc bleed and black flame damage over time from a distance. Now, interestingly enough, this is primarily a strength faith build because Great Stars itself is going to scale the best with strength, and I'm using heavy affinity, and then Golden Land is a little bit of faith as well, and we're also going to be using faith-based bleed in Blood Flame Blade, which I think costs maybe 15 faith. Now, it doesn't scale any higher than that. Blood Flame is a pretty standard set amount from what I understand of it, and the bleed on the Great Stars itself is going to be around 55. But the cool thing about it is this: you can proc bleed from the projectiles on Golden Land using Blood Flame Blade. Now, we're on New Game Plus 7 at this point. I think this character is on Journey 12 or so everything has a lot more HP. But for the Magma Worm, you can tell here that using the Ash of War, we can proc bleed with the projectiles while also doing a good amount of damage with it, and then being able to hit with the Great Stars in general, which has a pretty good attack since it's a strength weapon. We're using heavy affinity. Now, if you use Blood Flame Blade on it, or even Black Flame, which I'll show later, and you use it for the area of effect, which obviously builds up with the Ash of War, is it overpowered? Well, not really. It's just very good. It's a very good, well-rounded build. I wouldn't say that it's overpowered, but it is quite powerful in general. Now, being on Journey 12 and the max scaling at this point, the Magma Worm here obviously has more HP, but he is just a Magma Worm after all, so obviously it goes down fairly easy. Now, where do you get Golden Land? I'm going to show you. It is in Deeproot Depths after the Waterfall Crest Site of Grace. You're going to go in this direction. There's a tree avatar here that may attack you. I obviously killed him. By the way, this is the first Site of Grace in Deeproot Depths. I didn't have the map. I'll show the Site of Grace at the end. Apparently, I didn't grab the map yet at this point on this character. But yeah, he's here. Not too hard. It's a teardrop scarab. Not very, very difficult to find. Just kill him until I use lightning there, and then he'll drop Golden Land for you. And it's not very far from the first Site of Grace that's in Deeproot Depths. Very, very, very easy to get once you're in Deeproot Depths, but I know the issue of people getting there because you do have to fight that dual gargoyle boss fight, which is pretty tough. I think the only other way is a subterranean shunning grounds. Now, as far as this goes, this is a Great Stars. You can actually get 2 of these per playthrough. Second one you can get from White Mask Fair's questline to get to Mog. The NPC Invader guy drops it, the new one that they put in. And then where you get the original Great Stars is in this carriage where I showed it on the map in the Atlas Plateau. Just pick this up, stop the carriage or grab it or whatever, and you'll have Great Stars, which is an awesome weapon to combine with Golden Land. Now, by the way, if you're not subbed, definitely sub to this channel if you love overpowered PvE builds. There's a ton of awesome builds on this channel, so definitely hit that sub button. Now, for the buffing order, we drink our flask. I'm just simply using Golden Vow. You can throw Flame Grant Me Strength in there, Howl as well. Both of those work excellent for this build because they proc general damage, and general damage boosts are always good. And then, of course, obviously, we're going to show off the Ash of War here, which actually allows you, and after we proc Blood Flame Blade, by the way, which allows you to have a follow-up. If you hit the R2 afterwards, you actually have a high poise follow-up attack, which is pretty cool. Now, before I show the highlight of this video, which is a battle on New Game Plus 7 with the Fire Giant that turned out to be excellent. Got him on the second try, by the way, and it was an awesome fight, and I'm going to show you what that can do to the Fire Giant. Before that, though, Golden Land is excellent against the Deathrite birds. Now, they're immune to bleed, so they're not going to bleed, but they take a ton of damage from its Ash of War. It's absolute destruction for them. If you're having any trouble whatsoever with the Deathrite birds, definitely turn to Golden Land because it's excellent against them. Even though I do take some hits here and stuff, because obviously the Ghost Flame ones are really annoying because they always have that trail. They're always doing frost damage and stuff, and they can be kind of a difficult fight, that's for sure. But even so, Golden Land absolutely shreds them. When it hits with the projectiles, does a lot of damage. They're weak to Holy. This does a lot of Holy damage in general, and the projectiles will actually track them and hit them quite well because they're also a large target, and they go down fairly quickly with Golden Land. They just take a lot of damage with the Ash of War in general, and it's really awesome to use against them because, as you can tell, the projectiles absolutely destroy them, and it's a cool way to beat them, an otherwise very, very difficult boss. Now, I mentioned before you can put the Black Flame damage over time effect with Black Flame Blade. Well, this is what you can do with it. I didn't like it as much because Black Flame is like drawstring grease. It's very quick. You don't have a lot of time to get stuff off, but if you want to add that instead of Blood Flame Blade, or that fits your build better, you can proc the damage over time effect from a distance with the Ash of War. Now, for NPC invaders and such, this works really well. This actually has a niche in PvP. I know people use it as well, especially since you can add bleed to it from a distance. But as far as PvP goes and any NPC invaders, obviously that gets people running, gets NPC invaders hit because they don't dodge as well, and it destroys them while also giving you a chance to proc bleed at a distance on them and destroy them very quickly with the Ash of War and Blood Flame Blade. Now on to the big battle with the Fire Giant. The cool thing about the Fire Giant is he's such a large target that he's going to get hit with a lot of the projectiles, and since we're using Blood Flame Blade, we can proc bleed at a distance on him while also doing a lot of damage in general and having a very, very good Ash of War against him. Even though he does have fairly good holy resistance, it doesn't even matter in this particular instance because of the fact that we're able to do bleed with the Blood Flame Blade from a distance, and also for the fact that he's so large, he's getting hit with a lot of the projectiles that even on max scaling, where he's got 63,000 HP, it wasn't too difficult to beat him with this. Honestly, it wasn't that hard at all, given the fact that it took just 2 tries. So if you're looking for a way to get some bleed procs in your strength faith build, then you can switch to this if you're having any trouble with the Fire Giant. I know a lot of people that run stuff like the Blasphemous Blade, it doesn't do as much damage with the fire resistance and everything. You can switch to this, proc bleed, maybe do a little bit of posture damage in there as well. I didn't get a posture break on this run, but it does do some posture damage, while also being able to hit him with a ton of the projectiles and do a lot of damage in general. So each of those projectiles, while using Blood Flame Blade, will continue to build up that bleed effect, and it has a weird effect. Now, Blood Flame Blade does have a little bit of a delay in its bleed. It's kind of like a weird bleed that has like a damage over time bleed type effect, but even so, it's built up on the Ash of War with the projectiles, and then any hits obviously you do as well in between will continue to build that up. And the Fire Giant is always a tough enemy. He's always going to be a tough boss for a lot of people, and for me, this is not a build where you'd have to put a ton of effort into this. I mean, obviously you're going to have to dodge some and whatnot like most boss fights, and this isn't exactly, the Lightning build or Comet Azure or anything in that instance. It's not that good, but if you're having difficulty in your Strength Faith build, and you want to just switch to something real quick, grab Blood Flame Blade, put it on the Great Stars, or you can probably put it on several other Colossal Great Hammer type weapons, and then just proc bleed from a distance while also doing a lot of damage to him with its Ash of War, which just spreads out a lot with the projectiles. And as you can see, a lot of them hit him in general. Again, I mentioned this several times, but because he's so large, he gets hit by a lot of them. And yeah, even with a lot of HP, it's really not a bad build to use against him. Don't mind me, I'm not perfect. I'm only average at games. I think my name kind of says that. But yeah, I will get hit occasionally and beat up a little bit. But yeah, after 2 tries, this wasn't too difficult. And it's something that's really cool that you can do to the Fire Giant, where the projectiles will obviously beat him up, give it that bleed effect, and then obviously be able to get his HP down rather quickly between the area of effect in general and the fact that we're also proccing bleed as well. And wow, I don't think I've ever seen the eye that close unless you're attempting to hit it. That was pretty wild. But yeah, as far as the Fire Giant goes here, this is definitely a cool build to use on him. This is a cool build in general. I ran around, I did some other bosses and whatnot as well, but I wanted to keep the video like around 10 minutes just, so I didn't include like everything. And I thought the Fire Giant fight was really cool and a really good example on how to use Blood Flame Blade with Golden Land and proc bleed from a distance. So for this, we're using Great Stars. I had 2 of them, but you don't need 2 of them for this build, though you can get 2 per playthrough now. Any seal will do. The White Mask is cool in this instance because it helps. Shard of Alexander, Dragoncrest Great Shield, the Dragoncrest in general, Lord of Blood's Exultation, Ritual Swords Talisman, and then I believe we have the Consecutive Attack or Charged tier, and then the Holy tier as well. So for stats, I invested heavily into strength because you're going to want to hit enemies in general very hard, and this has kind of a split Ash of War between strength and faith, so I went for some faith too. As far as buffs and stuff, we're able to do that. I liked where the stats ended up for this build. It kind of worked out pretty well. I know I just said kind of, but yeah, it worked out pretty well. It's not perfect, but this is where I was at 150. If you're looking to do this and you just want a fun build where you can proc that distance bleed while also doing a lot of area of effect and just have a good time in general, a little bit of a challenge build, then this is a fun one to use that's, again, powerful, but not quite overpowered. And yeah, this is going to be one of those builds that's just really fun to use that you can have an absolutely good time with, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys and my subscribers and all that. And by the way, if you're not subbed, definitely sub to this channel if you love overpowered PvE builds. I've been doing a ton with the channel lately. I'm going to be doing more and just continue to build this channel up, so definitely hit that subscribe button. Ton of awesome builds on my channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys there.